So we have worked through the first three of the exercises. Anybody have any questions about the next set from 4 to 10 here that you'd like us to talk about? Number 7. Let's take a look at number 7. And let's practice our reading here. Let's do this out loud and in unison. Ready? Tirkavu el ha-milchama ulechadtem et ha-oyevim suraftem et ha-machane. Alrighty. So, what do we have here in number 7? The first word, let me go ahead and highlight this to help us. Is that a verb? It is. So we have a verb. And is that verb a perfect or an imperfect? WCI or WCP? This is an imperfect. Do you see any root letters that are identifiable here? This is one of our new verbs, rachav. So it's always a good idea when you come to a verb, put the numbers 1, 2, 3 over the 3 root letters so that you can ask yourself, do I have any nutty prefixes attached? Do I have any vavs attached? What are the personal endings that come after root 3 and so forth? What I have here is a tav in front and a shurik on the back side. That is an identifiable inflection for the imperfect conjugation, isn't it? Who is that? That's imperfect. What? Close. The 3MP always got a yod prefix. This is 2MP. Okay, so imperfect 2MP, and all of these are cal. So the cal imperfect 2MP of rachav, which means to ride. So how will we translate this as a normal imperfect? Y'all will ride. Tonight we ride. Right? So y'all will ride. Where? El hamilchama. To the... What's a milchama? It's a battle. Yeah. You're thinking malka. Malka, which is a queen. So this is to the battle. So y'all will ride to the battle. And now I have another verb form. And the question here is this a perfect, imperfect WCI or WCP form? Okay, this is a WCP. Now, WCP is a form that uses the perfect conjugation with its suffixes marking the subject. What are my root letters? Lakad. Good. What does lakad mean? To capture. Do I have any imperfect nutty prefixes before root 1? Nope. All I have is a vav, which has shifted to the shurik, right? Why has it become a shurik? Because I've got a vocal shava under the first letter of the word. And if I put a v, a normal vav, in front of a word that begins with a vocal shava, can I have 2 vocal shava side by side? No. So we have to resolve that some way, right? Under normal circumstances, I usually do the Red Ryder BB gun and shoot out an eye and leave a Keurig. But Vav doesn't do that. Vav shifts to the shurik. Okay? So you do have to make allowance for that. And then the tem ending, that is part of the perfect conjugation pattern, isn't it? And which person, gender, number is tem? Yep, it's a WCP 2MP. Okay? Same subject as this, but we started with an imperfect, and now we've moved to a WCP, which will have the same nuance. So y'all will ride, and y'all will lakad, and y'all will capture. All right? Do not translate this as a perfect past tense verb. Okay? It's a WCP, so it'll have the same nuance as the imperfect before it. Y'all will capture et ha-oyevim. Y'all will capture the enemies. Okay? What is one enemy? It's oyev. Oyev. Here it's plural. Oyevim. Oyevim. All right, so y'all will capture the enemies. And then my third clause is usaraftem as the beginning. That is another verb. What kind of verb form is this? Perfect, imperfect, WCI, WCP. It's another WCP, so it's going to have the same nuance as this. Y'all will ride, y'all will capture, and y'all will set on fire or burn. Saraf is the verb. Saraftem, y'all will burn. Not as in, y'all are going to burn, man, but y'all are going to burn something. This verb is transitive. It takes a direct object. Y'all will burn what? Et hamachane. The camp. The camp. So remember, these two words frequently are going to be found together in terms of the semantic schema. A schema we're dealing with here is the schema of battle. And within battle, you have troops and you have camps, right? And you have war, you have battle, you have swords. So it's a good idea if you can try to remember the related words that belong together in a particular semantic domain. So, milchama, battle, machane, camp. All right? So y'all will burn the camp. Sounds like a group of orcs or something in Lord of the Rings. All right. Any questions? That make sense? Okay, so imperfect followed by WCP followed by WCP. So these are basically either predictions or instructions of what is going to happen, future. Other questions?
Okay, I've got one quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Queen is Malkama.
No, just Malka. And this is how you spell it, okay? Malka. Okay, and it's got a kaf here. Milchama has a chet after the lamed. Okay? And there's no mem after the chet in Malka. Okay, so Malka's queen. Alrighty. Other questions? Okay, 8. Let's read this out loud together in unison. Kavatz 8 avdei Adonai vayishpatu 8 hakohen harasha. Alrighty. So, kavatz is my first word. Is that a verb?
Yes.
It is a verb. Is it a perfect, imperfect, WCI, or WCP? This is a perfect verb, isn't it? So here, I'll put that in red for fun. Perfect. Okay, good. And so typically we translate perfects with what tense value? Past. Okay, so he kavatzt. How do I know that's he? Yeah, because it's just the 3 root letters with no ending. In the perfect, that's 3ms. He, right? So he kavatz, which means he gathered. Et. Do I translate that? Nope, because this is the direct object marker. What are the Avdei Adonai? The servants of Adonai. This is Eved in what form? With that A ending? That's Canadian. What does that tell you? Yeah, it's the masculine plural construct, right? This is thing 1, this is thing 2. It's the plural things of Adonai. And here it's Eved in the plural. So the servants of Adonai. So he gathered the servants of Adonai. Next clause begins with va yish petu. Va yish petu. Is that a perfect, imperfect WCA or WCP? And in sequence with a perfect, that makes sense as being what time frame? Past. So past followed by another past action in the narrative. He gathered, and now here it's not he, but they, right? So after my 3 root letters here, what do I have? I have a shurik on the back side and a yod on the front side, right? So who's doing the action here? They. Yes, and is it a male or a female they? Male, masculine. Yod, shurik is they, masculine plural, 3MP. So, and they shafated. What's that mean? And they judged. Et ha-kohen? They judged the priest. Which priest, or what kind of priest? Ha-rasha. Yeah, so this is the evil priest, or the wicked priest. Now, is kohen a noun or an adjective? It's a noun. Is rasha a noun or an adjective? It's an adjective. This adjective comes after the noun. It agrees with the noun in gender, number, and definiteness. Ha rule is being followed here, right? Ha kohen, ha rasha. So what type of adjective is this? Attributive. And it tells you what kind of priest. And you got to translate it as the rasha priest, right? The wicked priest, the evil priest. All right, very good. That would be incorrect because here it's not the subject but the direct object. It's who you're gathering, right? The perfect here, look at the kavatz form. This is the perfect 3ms. If Avdei Adonai were the subject, then it would be kavatsu. I'd have a shurik on the end for third common plural, right? That's the they, or a plural subject. But that's not what I have here. So you have to pay attention to what the personal ending or the inflection is for the verb, so you know who's doing it. All right? Any other questions here? So number 5, we have, let's read this. Ready? Shamatnu El kol ha-kohen vanishmor et mitzvotav. All right, so look at shamatnu. Is that a perfect, imperfect, WCI, or WCP form? It's a perfect. All we have are 3 root letters followed by the nu, right? In other words, it can't be imperfect because otherwise I'd have what in front of root 1? Or tav, or nun, or aleph. One of the 4 nutty prefixes. And it can't be a WCI or WCP because there's no vav in front either, right? So this is a perfect, and with the shurik ending, it's third common plural. So who did this action? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I obscured my nu with that line. It's not 3 CP. It's 1 CP. Thank you. Yeah. So who did this? We did it. Okay. So we shamad, which is we obeyed or listened to El Kol HaKohen, the voice of the priest. How are Kol and HaKohen related to each other? This is a construct chain. You have to read these together as the voice of the priest. Now, here's the question. Is there anything about the form Kol that tells you for sure it's in the construct state? No. How can I tell a noun's in the construct? Sometimes the vowels will shorten. But can I shorten or change a holem vav? Nope, it's historically long and therefore it's unchangeable, right? Sometimes in the construct form the endings change. Does the ending of kol change? No. What is the ending of kol? Nothing. And so you can't change nothing when there's nothing to change, right? So no ending changes, no vowel changes. So a form like kol, that could either be the absolute or the construct. So you can't tell the difference. So then the second question becomes, well, what if it's not the construct? Let's assume it's the absolute and that this isn't a construct chain. Would that make sense in this sort of a context? What you would be saying is, we listen to a voice. And then Ha-kohen, if it's not in a construct chain, doesn't really make sense, just sort of dangling out here in the clause, does it? We listen to a voice, the priest. Okay? Rather, it does make sense to view this as a construct chain, and if it is, then both of these go together as the object of the preposition L. We listen to the thing one of thing two. And kol is, am I going to translate that definite or indefinite here? Definite. Why am I translating it as the voice if there's not an article on it? Because it's in construct with a noun that has the article, right? Remember, the article guarantees the definiteness of both thing one and thing two in a construct chain. Okay? So we listen to the voice of the priest. And then we have va nishmor. What kind of verb form is this? Perfect, imperfect, WCI, WCP. Okay, WCI or WCP. We do have a vav, so it's going to be one of those, right? Possibly? Look at what we've got. What are my root letters? It's shamar. So it's not nasham, is it? It's shamar, which means before root one I have a noon prefix. Is that a nutty prefix? Yes. That's an imperfect prefix, isn't it? With a vav pathak doubling dot, that is a WCI. And when the noon is the nutty prefix, which person, gender, number is that? 1 CP. And that makes sense, right? Because the perfect was 1 CP as well. We did something, and past time, we did something else. All right? So we obeyed the voice of the priest, and we shamarred, same past time, and we kept at mitzvotav. What's that? Yeah, so is this one or many commandments? That's the question. Look at the yod before the pronoun vav. The yod tells you it's, if you have a yod before the pronoun, it's plural. The noun is plural. Except for if you ever have a kirik before the pronoun, before the yod, it's singular. Remember that? One dot, kirik, before a yod makes it singular. Every other vowel before the yod tells you that the noun is plural. So that kametz is not a kirik. So this is a plural noun. His plural mitzvot. His commandments. We kept his commandments. Okay? So you see how this works? Okay. All right. So just real quickly, let's look at number 6 here. Haragu. Haragu. What kind of verb form is that? Perfect or imperfect? There's no vav, so it can't be the WCs. It's perfect. So what time frame would that be? Past. So who did the action here with that shurik on the perfect verb? Haragu. They. Good. So they haraged. What's harag mean? They killed. So that's my first verb. What did they kill? Et avdi. My servant. Now look at that yod after avdi. How do I know that that's not my servants? Plural. It's singular. The single dot, kirik, before that yod tells me that's one servant. Avdi. Okay? If it were plural servants, it would be I. I'd have a pathak yod. Okay? Now, so they slew, killed my servant, and then the next verb form is va yik baru. Va yik baru. After the perfect, I might expect what? A WCI. Do I have one here? Yeah. So continue the sequence of actions in the past, right? Often I could start with a perfect and then continue with WCIs. And that is a WCI? What are my root letters for this verb? Kavar, right? Kavar. And I have a prefix yod, shurik on the back side. Which person, gender, number is that? Third masculine plural. Haragu, third common plural. They did something, and then they did something else, right? Are we sure that's a WCI here? Vayikbaru? Yep. Because I've got the pathak under the vav. I don't usually get a pathak under the vav, do I? And I don't usually have a doubling down in my yod prefix. So that's a WCI kind of pointing. What does kavar mean? To bury. So vayikbaru is they buried. Whom did they bury? Otho, him, where? Bamidbar? In the wilderness. In the wilderness. All right. Very good. In number 4, we have the situation that we talked about at the very end of the lesson, which is when you have vayhi or v'haya plus a prepositional phrase followed by a WCI or a WCP. And you'll get the WCI or WCP depending upon whether the form is the WCI of haya, vayhi, or the WCP of haya, which is v'haya. So over here, I have v'haya. So that is the WCP. And what is that telling me about the time frame? It's future, okay? Bayom hahu, in the day the that, which is in that day. Now, is that day future or past? It's future because the v'haya signals future. Okay, so I don't have to translate it. I just go to bayom hahu and think, okay, futuristically, in that day coming up, what is going to happen? The next verb will be a WCP. It should be. Is that a WCP? Yep, I got a vav of the WCP, and I have the perfect personal ending of the WCP, don't I? But it's going to be what time frame? It's still going to be future, right? So in that day coming, what will they do? Or what will y'all do? Derashtem. Tem is second masculine plural. Y'all will inquire. Othi. Yeah, so it could be inquire or seek. So it's probably here to seek. So y'all will seek me. Velo emloch. What's that? I will not rule. Now, look at emloch here. Is that a perfect, imperfect WCI or WCP? It is an imperfect. And the imperfect will frequently be future too, right? Now, why was there a switch from WCPs to an imperfect? Because of the negation, right? If I'm telling you what did happen, I would have used another WCP. But when I switch and say, but here's what won't happen, I'll use velo, and then I go to the imperfect. And that's what happened here. And I will not reign. Alechem is over. Who's kem? You. And the you is masculine plural here. Second masculine plural. Okay. All that makes sense? All right. Good. So just a couple more things here just by way of practicing. Okay. So if I had something like this, Kathav vai yik the vu. Okay? I had one clause followed by another clause with this sequence. Kathav. Ooh, accidentally wrote that wrong. That's like this. Kathav. Okay, is that perfect or imperfect? Perfect, good. And this one is, oops, put a doubling dot in there. Va yiktavu. Va yiktavu, that's a WCI, right? Vav with the pathak, doubling that in the nutty prefix. And then I've got my 3 root letters. Okay? So how am I going to translate this? What's kathav mean? He wrote. You remember the 3 divisions of the Hebrew Bible? Torah, instruction, law. Nevi'im, prophets from Navi, plural of Navi, Nevi'im. Kethuvim from kathav, Kethuvim, the writings. Writings, right? So kathav is to write. So translate this. He wrote, and the next one's going to be what time frame? Vayiktavu. WCIs are never future. Right? You got to keep in mind. Perfects followed by WCIs. They're both going to be past, right? Past for both. And they... What? What does it mean? This is kathav, kathav, right? But it's just a WCI instead of a perfect of kathav. And they wrote. Both of these got to be translated past time. Okay? That makes sense? Okay, good. What about this? Let's see. Oops, wrong color. How about Yech Tov followed by the Ha Le Hu. Okay, so one clause followed by another. Yiktov, is that a perfect, imperfect, WCI, WCP? That's imperfect. Okay, and what time frame are we going to expect that to be? Future. Okay, great. So how would you translate Yiktov? That's a 3ms prefix, right? He will write. Good. And then we have v'halahu. Is that a perfect, imperfect, WCI, or WCP? WCP. There's my 3 root letters. There's no nutty prefix, just a vav in front, right? That's a WCP. And shurik on the end tells me it's 3rd common plural, right? Because I'm using the perfect personal endings here. What time frame will this be if it's in sequence with an imperfect that's futuristic? It'll also be future, right? So he will write, and then what's halach mean? To walk or go. Who will do it? Right, and they will walk or go. Okay, does that make sense? All right, so a lot of people look at these forms, these WCIs and WCPs, and you know, they say things like, well, it almost looks like this vav is converting it to the opposite of what you think. I don't think that that's what's happening, but the net effect looks like it. And if that's helpful to you for a moment, you know, you can maybe think about it that way. The imperfect is future. Perfects are usually past, but vav consecutive perfects are actually going to be future if the imperfect is futuristic, right? So, alrighty. Well, we'll stop there.